Hi everyone, welcome. Today we're going to do a 30-minute hip opening flow. So you'll need a couple blocks if you have them, books if you don't, a couple blankets, towels, stuff to cushion your knees, and provide a little bit of extra lift. Once you have everything, find a comfortable seated position, get your dog, your kid, your friend off your lap, and let's get started. So in that comfortable seated position, sitting nice and tall, close the eyes. Rest your palms either face down or face up. Begin to follow your breath in through the nose and out through the nose. Just comfortable and easy. Just recognizing with those first few cycles of breath the space you have in the body today. Take one more inhale here that expands the belly, the ribs, the collarbone, fill all the way up. Open your mouth, sigh out the breath. You take your palms into prayer at heart center, thumbs rest into the sternum. Set an intention for your practice. Carry that through the practice and maybe even off your mat. Take one last breath here together. Fill all the way up. Open your mouth and sigh it out. And blinking the eyes open. Move dogs, kids, friends out of the way. Start to walk your hands forward, forward, forward. And if sitting cross-legged just doesn't really work that well for you, you can be doing this with the legs outstretched, turning this into more of an extended forward fold, seated forward fold. You can also do this in a kneeling shape. That's a bit more comfortable, kind of like you're walking your way down into a child's pose. And then just walk the hands ever so slightly off the left side of the mats. And just notice if it's the hip, the low back, the mid back that starts to tell you a bit of a story. Take one more inhale. As you exhale, walk the hands back through center, just slightly off the right side. Again, we're just noticing here if it's the hip, the low back, bye Abby, the mid back, telling you a bit of a story. Take one more inhale on this side, and as you exhale, come back through center. Walk yourself back up to upright, extend the legs forward to the top of the mat, give the legs a little shake. Nice. Palms are planted nice and strongly. Flex the feet, point the toes. Flex the feet, point the toes. Just moving back and forth here between flexing and pointing. The movement being generated from the ankle. And you can pause, point the feet towards each other, and then point the feet away from each other. In and out. In and out. So all that movement, this is coming from the ankle. Draw big circles with the toes. Go the other direction. And then you can pause, feet are flexed. Begin to point your toes out to the sides of the room by externally rotating your hips. So the movement is coming from the hip itself, not just from, if you watch my knee, the ankle, the ankle, the ankle. The whole hip starts to externally rotate, pointing the toes out and then back in. Point the toes out and then back in. No worries if the pinky toe doesn't come down and touch the floor. We're more just checking in with how much active space we have here to externally rotate the femur bone. You do that one more time. Come back through center, give it a little shake. Nicely done. Lie all the way down flat on the back, bend the knees, bring the soles of the feet to the floor. Feet are parallel, hip width. You can slowly lower the knees to the right, and then back through center, lowering the knees to the left. As you go side to side, feeling that sensation of massage across the outer hip here, rolling across glute med. Just noticing sensation we get there. It might be a little tender, might be a little tight. feel nothing at all. Coming back through center, flex the right ankle. Take the right ankle to the left thigh. Now generating the movement not from the ankle, but from the hip itself, press that right thigh forward, feeling external rotation in the right hip. Figure 4 lying on the back here. You can add a little bit of added pressure with the right palm, pushing the right thigh away from you. I know there's deeper variations, but just start here for today. Sometimes less is a whole lot more. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Checking in with your right hip. Take one more inhale. And as you sigh out the breath, carefully release. Right foot comes down to the floor. Windshield wiper the knees to the right, to the left. Noticing sensation radiating in the outer edge of your hip. Back to center, flexing the left ankle. Take the left ankle to the right thigh. And generating the movement from the left hip, press that left thigh forward. Externally rotating the left hip. Shouldn't be any sensation of, ow, my knee. This is not a knee opener. Checking in with the left hip. You can add a little bit of gentle pressure with the left palm to the left inner thigh. Not judging the experience, but perhaps noticing the difference, the balance between left and right hip. Most of us will notice some type of difference between our dominant and non-dominant leg. If you happen to be ambidextrous, potentially there's a lot of similarity. Don't judge the experience, just notice it. Now one more breath on this side. Use the exhale, carefully release. Left foot comes down to the floor. Windshield wiper the knees to the right, to the left. Coming back to center, hug both knees into your chest, wrap the arms around the legs, and lift your nose up towards the knees. Pretty rounded and flexed spine here. If you're noticing sensation in the low back, the mid back, even the upper back as you pull the nose towards the knees, just recognizing that you might be carrying some tension in the spine, up and down your posterior chain, backside body. Rock to the left and the right a little bit, massaging the muscles to the left and right side of the spine. And then releasing the hands, taking them maybe behind the knees, use that to help you gain some momentum, rocking back and forth along the length of your spine. Use enough momentum to rock forward, plant the feet, stand all the way up. Once you're standing up, turn the palms to face forward, loop the shoulders up, back, and down. Stand tall, Tadasana. Try not to overdo it with the back bend. Tuck the tailbone slightly and pull the ribs and belly in. Tall, strong spine. Big inhale. As you exhale, tuck the chin, roll all the way down. Articulating through each vertebra until the fingertips find the floor. And the knees might have to bend here a little bit this first round. When the fingertips do find the floor, step the right foot to the back of the mat, lower the right knee all the way to the mat, untuck the toes. Pad the knee if you need by using one of your blankets underneath the knee. You can also just really quick and dirty, fold the mat. Give yourself a little bit of extra cushion if you require it. Allow the hips to sink forward. As you allow the hips to sink forward, thinking about a Tadasana torso. So the belly and the ribs actually continue to draw in. It's like you're standing tall in Tadasana, but thinking about the pelvic floor, reaching down, down, down towards the floor. It's possible that you'd be able to go deeper by allowing the back bend, but then it's actually the spine that's taking a lot of the load here, and we're not feeling as much of the resistance into the iliopsoas system, the hip flexors, on the right leg. So come back a bit more. Tall Tadasana torso. Breathing space into the front of that right hip. Take one more inhale. As you exhale, carefully release the hands down to the floor. Pick up the back knee, step the left foot to the back of the mat, lower all the way down to your belly. Press down to the tops of the feet, hard enough you actually feel the kneecaps lift up off the mat. Inhale, peel up chest and chin, baby cobra. Exhale, lower back down. Inhale, lift up chest and chin, maybe coming a little higher, but keep the elbows hugging in. Exhale, lower back down. And one more time. Inhale to lift. Pull your chest forward. Elbows hug it. Exhale, lower all the way down. Press into your palms. Come to tabletop position. Palms out of the shoulders, knees under the hips. And you can take the hips and the shoulders side to side a couple times. As you go side to side here, just noticing it's the shoulder, your spine, your hips, telling you a bit of a story. Bring the knees together. Untuck the toes. As you slide the palms back, bring them so they're face up next to the feet, and lower the torso down towards your thighs, forehead to the floor if possible. If you're kind of stuck in between, use a blanket or a block. You can add a bit of height, block under the forehead at any height setting that seems to be giving you some assistance here. If you don't need the block, get rid of the block. No need to use it if you don't need it. Breathe some space into your flexed hips, knees, torso. You can take one more big breath. And as you sigh out that breath, slide the palms so they're closer to the space under the shoulders and push down, sit up into a kneeling shape. Once you're in that kneeling shape, find one or two blocks. You can stand up onto the shins, separate the feet a little bit wider apart, and take that one block, maybe at the medium setting, maybe at the lowest setting, see how it feels to sit down. If you need more than one, you're adding a second block. If you don't have blocks, get creative, use books, you can use folded blankets, really whatever you have on hand that can support your weight. So the feet are a little bit wider here. The heel is basically next to the hip, but the knees are still nice and close. This is our hero pose. In your hero pose, still that nice tall Tadasana spine, not overdoing the back bend, trying not to have too much of a rounded, kind of hanging out kind of spine. Instead it's a Tadasana torso, nice and strong and stable. If the shins feel okay, the ankles feel good, the knees, the quads feel pretty good, you can remove one block. See how it feels to come a little lower. And that's still feeling pretty good, you could remove the other block. And the calves out of the way. See if you can bring your bum all the way down towards the mat. The heels actually slide past the outer hip here. This gives you knee sensation. You're getting a lot of knee opening. There's no such thing. Let's avoid that knee opening sensation. Stay on the block, maybe even just a little towel or blanket right underneath your sit bones and tailbone. Notice left to right side, tall Tadasana torso. If you're holding some tension here in the shins or the quadriceps. Take one more inhale. And as you sigh out that breath, push down into the shins, come up. Toes tuck, feet come together. Sit back towards your heels. And as you sit back towards the heels, feeling the soles of the feet stretch. If it's way too intense, you can always use blocks, one on each side underneath the palms, push down, decrease some of the weight you're feeling in the feet. Stretching the soles of the feet. Your posterior chain actually starts at the big toe mound and goes up the soles of the feet, up the back of the legs, all the way up the back of the spine, to the base of the skull. Take one more inhale. And as you exhale, shift forward, plant the palms, straighten one leg at a time. Wiggle out your toes. Tuck your toes, lift the sit bones up. And reach your bum up towards the ceiling. The knees might be bent this first downward facing dog. Ears in line with the biceps, pushing the floor away, shoulders strong. Begin to press the heels down towards the floor if you have space. Don't worry if they don't touch. A little micro bend in the knees is preferable to feeling strain in the back of the knees or the base of the bum. Inhale, lift the right leg up, three-leg dog. Exhale, bend the knee, stack the hip. Make the right knee the highest point, as if you could touch your right knee to the ceiling. Draw a big circle on the wall behind you with that right knee, and then take it the other direction. Big circle with the right knee. Right knee to the nose, touch. Carefully step the foot in between the hands. Rise up, inhale, high runner's lunge. Exhale, open up, warrior two. In that warrior two, inhale, turn the right palm to the ceiling. Exhale, reverse your warrior. Breathe into right side body. And then cartwheel the arms all the way down to the mat. Step back, add a Vinyasa if you want it. That's Chaturanga to up dog. If you'd rather skip it, then Skipasana. Go right to downward facing dog. From your down dog, start to tiptoe your feet all the way to the top of the mat. Inhale, roll up to stand. Head comes up last, Tadasana, mountain pose. In your mountain pose, ribs and belly draw in. There's that slight tuck, tall Tadasana torso. Really strong. Big inhale. As you exhale, tuck the chin, roll all the way down. Articulating through each vertebra until the fingertips touch the floor. And when they get there, you'll step the left foot to the back of the mat, lower the knee down, untuck the toes. If you need to cushion the knee, use a blanket. Quick fold the mat if you need, come up, hands to the hips. And just notice that tilt of the pelvis here. How much back bend is coming into this shape? Is it really a stretch for your hip flexors, your iliopsoas system on the left side, or is it more compression for your lumbar spine? So if that's the case, bring more attention to belly and ribs. Draw belly and ribs in, that nice tall Tadasana torso. Feeling length, stretch into the front of the left hip. Breathing here. Try not to hold your breath. Be a little tempting sometimes. Each exhale, we soften forward just a little bit more. And take one more inhale. As you exhale, release your hand down towards the floor. Pick up the back knee, step the right foot all the way back. Lower carefully to your belly, press into the tops of the feet. This time if you feel comfortable, inhale, come all the way up to your full cobra. Elbows hugging in, neck is long, heart is pulling forward. Little bit of drawing the belly away from the floor so we keep a bit of engagement in abdominal wall and don't completely soften into only the back bend, the compression of the lumbar spine. Take one more inhale in your variation of cobra. Exhale, lower all the way back down. And pressing the palms into the floor, come up to tabletop, palms under the shoulders, knees under the hips. You can take the hips and the shoulders side to side. Just noticing left hip, left shoulder, right shoulder. The space you might be starting to create. This time bring the knees wide, about as wide as the mats. Big toes touch the back of the mat. Shift the hips back to the heels. Walk the hands forward. Child's pose. Balasana. In that child's pose shape, you can stay nice and active, pushing into the palms, elbows and forearms staying off the floor. You can also get quite passive and just soften, relaxing into the shape, allowing the hips to sink back towards the heels. And take one more big breath. As you sigh out the breath, walk the hands back towards the knees. Nice, bring the knees towards each other. So you have some space behind you. We'll start to bring our props up towards the top of the mat. Give yourself extra space, walking forward with the knees. Knees stay together, feet separate. You're either sitting on a block or a blanket or bringing your bum all the way down towards the floor. So regardless of what you're doing, just pay attention to what you're feeling across the quadricep, the front of the hip, the shins, and the ankle. If you start to feel the knees floating up off the floor, getting pressure into the knee, it's probably a little bit too much. More elevation using one or two blocks or your props, maybe a blanket, maybe a towel. If you feel like you have extra space, your bum is on the floor, even if you're just slightly lifted on a towel or one block, you can walk the hands back. Feel a slight tuck to the tailbone here, and you might already notice stretching sensation coming into the front of the hips and the quads. For a little more, the hands walk towards the feet, lay the forearms down towards the mat, belly and ribs trying to draw in, knees stay pushing down towards the floor, try not to let them lift. And if you're coming all the way down, I like to grab the heels to pull, keeping the knees down, lower base of the skull, shoulder blades down towards the floor, into your reclined hero pose. Belly and ribs trying to draw in, not completely releasing into just that extension of the spine, compression of the low back. If this is really, really intense, feels like pain and not release, then you've gone a little bit too far, no problem. Come out safely, push the knees down, come back up onto your forearms or your palms. Couple more breaths in your variation of reclined hero pose. When it's time to come back up, really carefully grab the heels to push, palms, sit up, push into the shins, come all the way up into that kneeling shape. Toes can tuck, sit towards the heels, feet together, knees together, noticing the soles of the feet here. It also brings us a nice counter pose to the sensation of stretch we had in the front of the shins. Now we bring it more towards the soles of the feet. Even Achilles tendon and calf might be getting a little bit of that sensation. Not here for long. Couple breaths in through the nose, out through the nose. You can use an exhale, release the hands down to the floor. Set the feet back one at a time, wiggling out the toes. Set yourself up on your mat, tuck the toes, downward facing dog, heels pressing towards the floor, knees bent slightly if they need to be, bum trying to reach up. Downward facing dog. Inhale, lift that left leg up, three-leg dog. Exhale, bend the knee, stab the hip, make the left knee the highest point, and then draw a big circle on the wall behind you with your left knee. Take that circle the opposite direction, and then knee to the nose. Exhale, touch. Step the foot in between the hands. Rise up, inhale, high runner's lunge. Exhale, open up, warrior two. Inhale, turn the left palm to the ceiling. Exhale, reverse your warrior. Breathing into left ribs. Cartwheel the arms down to the floor, step back. Vinyasa or right to down dog. If you're taking Vinyasa, that's chaturanga, elbows just to 90 degrees. Heart pulls forward, upward facing dog. Back over the toes. Downward facing dog. And from your down dog, you can bring the knees down to the floor. Take the hips and the shoulders side to side a couple times. Noticing sensation here. Nice. For the next shape, we'll need our blanket. You might need a couple blankets, depends on you. Take the blanket nice and wide. So it'll actually end up being wider than your mat. And then folding that blanket up into a nice, long, rectangular shape. So we get lots of cushion available for the knees. The knees are going to go wider than your mats. If you're very, very flexible and quite tall, they may go even wider than how I have the blanket set up, which is only about this long. If you need longer, no problem. Fold your blanket as long as it needs to be. Bring your knees onto the blanket, and then start to take the knees wider, 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 wider. When they feel a comfortable distance apart, it's probably good to start. Flex the feet. Take the inner edge of the foot down towards the floor. The ankle is directly behind the knee. The knee is directly beside the hip. Same on the other side, ankle behind the knee, inner edge of the foot to the floor. Now, one thing that tends to happen when we work on our frog pose, stretching the inner thighs, the inner edge of the hip, is that people feel like they're getting quite far into the shape because the hips shift forward and the feet might have a tendency to lift. Feels like, yeah, I've gone really far into the shape. The only thing is the hips shifting forward has gotten rid of some of the stretch you're probably supposed to be feeling in the inner thighs. So to stop that from happening, what you can do is grab a block, really anything that you have handy that can sit up on its end, and keeping it close to the thigh. This will act as a bit of a guide here. Forearms on the floor or palms on the floor. Maybe the hands are walking forward. As you try to get lower and lower into the shape, maybe chest and chin down to the floor, if you have a tendency to shift the hips forward, at some point, you're going to knock into that block. You'll feel the block move, maybe even fall over. Just a nice little guide to tell you if you're setting up your frog position correctly. Come down into your frog. Hips stay next to the knees, ankles behind the knees. Breathe space into the inner thighs. And if you're new to this shape, please feel free to stay on the forearms or the palms, sharing the load into the upper body as much as you're taking it into the lower legs here. Lower body. Only a few more breaths in our frog position. Noticing where the hips are. You feel the hips kind of pull back. They're in line with the knees. down on forearms or on chest and chin. Slowly come back up onto your palms. Walk the hands back a little bit so you can feel the weight into the arms. And then feet come in. Knees start to walk in. Nice and slow. Nice and slow. You can straighten one leg at a time, wiggling the toes. Shouldn't feel like we've overdone it into the inner edge of the knee or the groin. If you're feeling that sensation of like kind of pain, you've gone a little bit too far into the stretch. So next time, back off just a little bit. Remove the blanket, put that off to the side, toes tuck, walk the hands towards the feet, find a deep squat at the back of the mat, Malasana. You can slide the left shoulder in front of the left knee, flex the ankles, keep them nice and strong, push the right knee and thigh away. So you feel again the inner thigh, some external rotation here in the hip. Back through to center, right shoulder in front of that left knee, right knee. Push into the left paw, left knee, left inner thigh. Pulling the chest away from the thigh. Feeling the inner thigh stretch. Sensation of external rotation. You can come back through to center and carefully walk the hands forward. Nice. Drive the right knee forward towards the right wrist. Take the right foot towards the left side of the mat. At first, the shin is set up more of an angle for our pigeon pose, or swan if we're in yin. To get into the shape, rather than thinking just going down to the hip right away and just falling off to the side, bring some attention to the back leg. Start to walk that left knee, left foot back, so it brings your right hip down towards the floor. So as the right hip comes down, if you're noticing the knee is a bit too much, you're coming up, you can always feel free to grab a blanket or a block. Give yourself a little bit of cushion underneath the right sit bone on this side, so we feel like we have support. Pulling the belly and the ribs in slightly, staying upright, we'll stretch both hips, both the piriformis and glute med on the right side, as well as hip flexors on the left side. Choose the option that seems to work best for you. We're all going to be a little different. The idea isn't to do a perfect shape, but to do a shape that seems to work best for your body. Now, if you'd like, staying upright does both. You can also walk the hands forward, come down onto either forearms, or all the way down, chest and chin, forehead, whatever can reach the mat. Pigeon pose, or swan. Lots of different variations you can work on. If you have a little bit more open hip flexors and quads, you can post up with one hand, giving yourself some support. Engage the left hamstring, pull the heel in, reach back, catch the inner edge of the foot. Maybe that foot comes up towards the elbow, and you can reach back and bind, mermaid pose. If you have other versions you like working on, you can work on other variations if you have them in your practice. Breathe in through your nose, out through your nose. You're just about there. And take one more big breath. If you're all the way down on your chin or your forehead, walk the hands back up. Plant the palms. So just like getting into and out of our frog, weight into the palms. Wiggle that left knee forward. So there's no weight in the right knee now. Right knee slides up. Take the foot back, hips and shoulders can go side to side. Noticing some of that space that we're starting to create. Left knee drives forward towards the left wrist. Left foot towards the right edge of the mat. The shin ends up on more of an angle here. Wiggle the right knee, right hip, right foot, goes back a little bit. And this brings the left hip down towards the floor. And tucking the back toes. Use cushion if you need it. Right? Bringing a block under the hip or a blanket underneath that left sit bone if it's required. Staying upright will stretch the iliopsoas system here on the right side, as well as glute med and piriformis on the left side. Do what you think you need to do. If you're staying upright, pull the belly and the ribs in slightly. If you're coming all the way down, you can come to forearms. You can want the hands forward and bring forehead down or chest and chin. Everyone's going to look a little bit different. And if you have variations, as I mentioned before, you can try mermaid on. You can also do your king pigeon. If you're doing king pigeon, engaging the hamstring, really similar. Reaching back, but instead of grabbing the foot, you're actually going to grab the big toe You're grabbing the big toe. Elbow spins up, point the elbow up, head reaches back. Maybe one day we fix our hair with our toes. If that's not happening today, no problem. Take a different variation that seems to work for your hip, for your shoulder, right? It's mostly about the hips today, so maybe need to do Queenie's shoulder opening class to feel fully ready for something like King Pigeon. If you're still in that prone pigeon, sleeping your swan, couple more breaths, in through the nose, out through the nose. If you're not upright yet, carefully come back up onto your palms, weight into the hands, push down, and then wiggle the right knee forward a little bit. The left knee is weightless, slide it up, take it back. You can take the hips and shoulders side to side. Crossing the ankles, sit back towards your bum, extend the legs forward, give it a little shake. Not judging the experience, but just checking in. Palms push down, shoulders draw back, point and flex the feet. And then turn the feet in, turn the feet out. Big circles. That's all coming from the ankle. Now with the feet a bit wider apart, so we can check in with some of the internal rotation here too. Take the feet out, external rotation, and then in, internal, external, internal, external, internal. And just notice left foot, right foot, if they're similar or a little bit different. Back through the center, give it a little shake. Nice. Lie all the way down on your back, no rush. Once you're lying flat on your back, bend the knees, bring the soles of the feet to the floor. Take the left foot more to the center of the mat. Cross the right leg over the left. And flexing the ankles, lift the feet up off the floor, reach your hands. Left hand grabs the right shin just below the knee. Right hand grabs the left shin just below the knee. And start to walk your hands down towards either the ankles or the outer edges of the feet. If you catch the outer edge of the feet, kick the feet or the ankles up into the hands a bit. The legs are almost 90 degrees here. Without bothering the knees, you start to pull the arms, adding a bit more external rotation here to the hips as they adduct, the legs abduct to the center. It's almost like our cow face pose fell over backwards. Because we have the spine on the floor, it's a little easier to keep that nice, tall Tadasana torso. No rounding of the spine, no overarching. Just feeling left side, right side. Take one more big breath. Don't pop out of the shape. Release slowly by bending the knees more, releasing the hands. Unravel the legs, feet find the floor. Windshield wiper the knees to the right and to the left, massaging the outer hips. And coming back through to center, right foot to the center of the mat. Cross the left leg over the right. You float the feet up off the floor. It'll be the right hand catching the left shin just below the knee. The left hand catching the right shin just below the knee. Feet are flexed. Walk the hands towards the ankles. And if you're holding the ankles and that's as far as you can get, kick the ankles up into the hands. Stay there, pulling. You can also reach to grab the outer edges of the feet. Kick the feet up into the hands. More 90-90 with the legs. Without bothering the knees, we add a little bit of pull with the arms, externally rotating the hips as we adduct the femur bone, the thigh bone. Squeeze it to the midline. Feels pretty good on tight hips. And through all this, you're breathing. In through the nose, out through the nose. One last big inhale as you sigh out the breath. Slowly release by bending the knees, unraveling the legs, windshield wiper the knees to the right and to the left. This last shape before we have a short Shavasana, if you need propping, you're always welcome to use blocks or blankets, really whatever seems to work best for you. Keep them nearby. Wiggle the soles of the feet to connect, let the knees drop out wide, Supta. Baddha Konasana, recline butterfly pose, checking in with the inner thighs. If you need a little bit of support, I like using blocks. Blocks under the knees or under the thighs, just barely touching, so that as we hold the shape, we feel a slight release and softening, less and less effort to be in this pose. You can also use your blankets here, rolled up, folded up. If you don't have the blocks, the concept is the same. Providing a bit of support here underneath the thighs. Sometimes we only need just a bare minimum of support, and it feels like enough. And just notice if left side, right side feels similar or different. Recognizing where we might have felt a shift today in our practice. One more big breath. As you sigh it out, reach down with the hands, close the legs like a book. Hug the knees into your chest and give yourself a squeeze. You can even lift the head and the shoulder blades up, get the nose towards the knees, rock to the left and to the right, noticing the sensation of, tugging, tightness, or feelings of openness in space. We got one last big inhale here as you squeeze everything in. As you sigh out the breath, release. Legs float to the top of the mat. You can have the palms face up a little ways away from the thighs. Feet a comfortable distance apart. Shavasana, corpse pose. Nothing else you have to worry about achieving here. Just allow the body to settle. If you feel like you need a longer Shavasana, just pause this, stay where you are. It's important to give yourself time to integrate and absorb what has shifted and changed for you over the course of your practice. Gently nudge your awareness in the direction of your breath. And as you lengthen each inhale and exhale, move your fingers, move your toes. Inhale, reach the fingertips towards the space behind you, toes to the space in front of you, stretch it out. And exhale to soften. You can bend the knees, bring the soles of the feet to the floor, left palm to the belly, roll to right side body. Pushing into the left palm, sit all the way up into a comfortable seated position. You can sit cross-legged or kneeling, sit up on a prop or right on the mat, whatever works best for you. Once you've found that shape, sit up nice and tall. Turn the palms face up. Watch your breath flow in through the nose, out through the nose. Shift some of your awareness down to your hips. And just recognize the sensation there. If you feel like you're better able to sit, to find some stillness, after accessing some of the tension you might have been carrying, you can place the left hand over the heart, right hand over the belly. Inhale, fill all the way up. Take up some space. Open your mouth, sigh out the breath. Palms connect in prayer at heart center. Thumbs rest into the sternum. Check back in with your intention. I invite you to carry that with you off your mat and into the rest of your day. Thank you for practicing with me. Namaste. I really appreciate you being here and practicing with me virtually. If you have questions for me or for Queenie, please feel free to comment below or to send us a direct message on our Instagram page. You can find the links for all that right down there in the comment section and the about section. For everyone that's been supporting us, thank you so much. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. You can donate still via e-transfer or to Coffee, our online fund. And for everyone out there that's helping their local studio, their local restaurants, their community, thank you so much for continuing to do what you can. To our frontline healthcare workers, thank you so much. To our grocery store clerks, everyone that's out there that's keeping the country running and the world running, we appreciate you and we see you. Until next time, see you soon.